Welcome to our session on the SAP SuccessFactors first half 2022 release highlights with regards to Employee Central. My name is Shannon Ippolito, and I work in the Rizing Global Managed Services team. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Abhishek.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abhishek Jain. I am a Global Center of Excellence lead for core HR and payroll at Rizing. And yeah, together with Shannon, we'll walk you through the release highlights for Employee Central.
Yep. All right, well, the first one that I do want to start us off with today is with regards to the reimagined homepage. So if it's the talk of what's going on right now, and if you have not already put it into your test instance and started looking at it, definitely do that now. The universal push for the reimagined homepage is scheduled to happen in your preview instances on June 3rd and in your production instances on June 24th. So you definitely want to ensure that you are reviewing it, testing it. It's a huge change management for your users, and you want to be in control of when you are going to move. You don't want it to just wake up one morning and come into the office and see a new look and feel to your system. So definitely encourage everyone, especially with this release. There were several items across all modules in the homepage itself that were enhanced. One of them for Employee Central, which is actually a huge thing for EC customers that utilize alerts, that now the alerts do show up on the new homepage. That was a gap so far. So, and these alerts are things like if you have them configured to be an alert through business rules, they can be for, common ones are work permit expiration dates, contract end dates, maybe leave of absence, expected return date upcoming, things like that. You have those alerts. So now they will appear on the new homepage for whomever is configured to receive those. So that's definitely a big thing there. So Abhishek, from a time off perspective, since that is definitely something you focus on, what are some of the new features that are coming in that you've seen?
Yeah, for time off, continuing with the alerts, right, where you mentioned about the homepage for time off as well. There is an improvement in the time management alerts where with the enhancement, the sequence, how the time managed alerts are visible have changed. So it's in maybe a descending order now, and earlier it was in ascending order with few additional enhancements, like we have first name and last name visible, as well as there are some configuration options to add in some additional information on the alerts. And yeah, other than alerts, I'll touch upon a couple of items here, starting with the concurrent absences feature for time off. This feature was already available, but it was as an early adopter phase, but now it is generally available. And this feature is more like, like an overlap absences, wherein, say, if an employee is on annual leave and say the employee falls sick for some reason, and they would like to update their absences, obviously via mobile device, they can update it straight away without receiving any error messages saying that there is already an absence available. System does not allow to update, which was not the case earlier. So this is an improvement here, which allows obviously the overlapping absences, and based on some documentation that I have referred to, the testing, the end-to-end testing is done for 3 countries, UK, Netherlands, and Spain. For other countries, it may have been tested, but not complete end-to-end, as mentioned in the documentation. So yes, look out for any additional documentations available in the config guide. And Shannon, other than time off, would you like to add anything on say time off quick action or anything additional feature?
So there was an update to the time off quick action feature as well. So the quick action for time off for an employee is to request a time off, right? So I go in, click on it and I can quickly, which is the purpose of it, request some time off. The gap that was there that is now fixed with this release is that I can't see the calendar, right? It's not the view of the employee time off. When I would go through there, I see my calendar and I see like my balances. So now there is a quick, there's a link on there. So if a user does want to click on that, and they're like, oh, no, I need to go look at the calendar, they can click on the link. It'll take them to their employee time off standard view that includes the calendar, and you can see, you know, other absences that may be happening at that time on your team, and et cetera. So again, it's just an additional quick link to jump straight to the employee's time off section.
Yeah, that's right. And it does reduces, you know, a double click or two-step process for an employee to navigate to their self-service. So we have the link directly available on the quick action card.
And that was a huge thing, I think, just to mention too, with the reimagined homepage. This is one of those that, you know, it was a miss from SAP when they rolled it out, but they are taking customer feedback so seriously when it comes to this reimagined homepage. A lot of these enhancements we are seeing is based on what customers have been telling SAP. And again, SAP is holding open office hours for the new homepage and taking notes. I've joined those, I've listened to them. They are writing down notes that everyone's saying. They are taking all that feedback very seriously. And this is just, again, proving that they're listening and they're trying to give what customers are looking for in the homepage.
Yeah, agree. Lots and lots of announcements, you know, for the reimagined homepage, this release.
Yeah, definitely. What else is happening in time off? I think there's a few things too that term handling.
Yeah, that's right.
Reading about.
Yes, so this is again termination and handling is another, you know, I would say a major enhancement from the termination and rehire standpoint. So this feature helps to, I would say, you know, fill out a gap that was available earlier. Say when the employee was terminated, their time off details were still in the system, like, you know, time off post their termination date, like future dated absences or time accounts, or in some cases, time accounts were not even closed. So with this enhancement, SAP is closing that gap, wherein if an employee is terminated and rehired in the same accrual period, we do have configuration option with which we can delete those future dated absences and even close the time accounts. So again, based on the configuration options available. And I think when the offset number of days when the absences will be deleted is also configurable, and it's based on legal entity as well. So quite a flexible configuration option available there.
Yeah, that is definitely something that is a huge pain point from an admin perspective, because all of that would then have to be reworked manually, right? And manual adjustments would have to be made if you had a rehire and work through all that. So this is helping close that from an automated perspective, and will definitely lead to less questions, I think, when they have those rehires coming in. So that's excellent.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything else around the time off piece that you've seen?
Yes, the last thing, you know, maybe one of the, you know, major feature announcement that I would like to highlight here is the validation for the employee time imports. So with this feature, SAP is restricting import of employee time with the status cancelled, and even like status pending and pending cancellation. So this is to ensure the data consistency within the system whenever the data is imported. But this in a way kind of, you know, does impact how we do a data migration, I would say. You know, so as a part of data migration, we do import employee time for the absences, and we have seen in past, like, you know, if say for some reason the loads are not correct, we update that with cancelled status. But now it's not possible with this validation. So the only way is to as of now, I'm thinking that the only way is to correct those records and re-import with the right values. And if there are any other possible options, then we'll have to just look into the system and try it out if there are any other options available.
Yeah, yeah. And I've even seen with the data migration that sometimes customers so much want to, especially if it's a mid-year, right? They want to truly capture whatever happened in their old time tracking system, and that includes cancels because they just want to have that record. And so at this point, that's just not something, right, that's going to be possible. It truly should just be data migrating what is current as of that time that they're going live with whatever and move forward, not worry so much about the history that they may need to bring in. So
yeah, that's right. Yes. All right. So that was all about time off, a few of the major announcement highlights. Shannon, do you want to touch upon any other major announcements or features from the Employee Central standpoint?
yeah, definitely. Again, there's no huge changes, I think, from Employee Central, but there is one for position management I wanted to call out. And that's with regards to, so this is for, you have position management and you have recruiting or onboarding and are processing internal hires. So those are coming, internal employees are moving, but they went through a requisition process or the onboarding process and are coming through managed pending hires. With this, the way that it used to happen is that, when you're internal hire, you're moving into a new position. But if attributes on that position had changed, they weren't, none of our typical position post-processing things were happening. And so now this is an enhancement, and a good example, or a simple example, I guess, is the job to position synchronization was not happening when that internal hire was coming through. So you hired somebody into a position and the position has a location of New York that's on the position. But the internal hire coming through and they're going to actually be in Chicago. So on your job information, when you're processing it, you change that location to Chicago. That wasn't syncing back up to the position, that's in your business rule for the job to position sync, but it wasn't triggering those processes. So now with this enhancement, that will happen. That job to position sync is going to happen. The position matrix relationship update is going to happen now. So that's definitely a huge win for those who do internal hires in the system. Definitely something you'll want to test first, right? To confirm. I definitely would take this preview testing time to make sure there's no bugs with that, but glad to see that is finally coming through. I think another thing I want to touch on also just kind of goes similar to this is with centralized services. Centralized services, we've been talking about it, I feel like 2 years, 3 years now. They're slowly bringing in all the different aspects and different entities of EC to utilize centralized services. And they're kind of wrapping up the rest of the entities and processes. And this release, we are seeing mainly around the history UI. So this was introduced with the last release for the history UI. However, it was not working if you had time off enabled in the system. So that gap has now been closed. So with this release, all of the imports will utilize centralized services. They are all opt out in preview. So in company system and logo settings, you have all those checkboxes. Everything will be turned on. You would have to opt out. Of course, we don't recommend opting out unless you had a serious business case that you tested and it is not working. When it hits production in May, everything will be opt out except for 3. That's going to be the termination imports, your compensation and recurring pay component history, UI save, and the employment details, UI save. So those 3 will be opt in because we want to ensure that that is working. But all the rest, again, are going to be opt out, and then look for the release at the end of the year. Everything becomes universal. So we haven't seen any issues yet with these, knock on wood. But of course, definitely we encourage you, and SAP encourages you to make sure you are testing imports, UIs, everything to make sure that your system is not negatively impacted by that.
Yeah, so just want to add on those centralized services is, just reiterating what Shannon mentioned is would recommend to enable all those centralized services so that you test it out, because eventually all of those centralized services will be made universal. Don't know when, but yes, SAP will communicate it whenever it is. So it's best to test them out rather than leaving it for later.
Yeah, definitely be prepared, be proactive, not reactive. That's what we
Yeah.
always want to
That's
ensure,
right.
right?
Yes, that's right.
All right, Abhishek, what is going on? Enhancements, haven't seen this in a while with regards to the managed workflow requests. Again, more of an admin task, but there's some things that came out for that, which kind of look cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I'll touch upon the managed workflow requests as well as a few other admin related announcements that we have in this release. The managed workflow requests. So with this announcement, SAP has introduced an additional field on the managed workflow request page, and this is to filter MDF objects. So now it will be easier to find any pending workflow, or if an admin would like to know, what has happened with particular workflow for, say, position object. So they can straight away filter based on the position and look through all the workflows associated with position. And it's not only position, but any MDF objects, maybe a custom MDF object that we have created. We can also filter through the custom MDF object. So that was the one piece for the managed workflow request. The additional announcement for the same managed workflow request is that now we can search for an inactive users. So there is a field where it's called as, I think, requested for or requested by, one of those. But yes, we can now search using any inactive employee in the system so that you can see the workflows for that particular user or an employee. Yeah. So that's one of the admin announcement. The another one that I would like to touch upon is the scheduled job manager updates. So this is a screen or a page where we can see or view all the jobs, like any import jobs or any backend jobs those are executing. With this announcement in this release, SAP is kind of moving towards scheduled job manager, and in a way, even on the import and export data screen, the link now points directly to the scheduled job manager rather than the monitor job in the earlier version. So I think that's an understanding that SAP is moving towards the scheduled job manager for all the jobs, maybe import export or any batch jobs.
And I definitely like that scheduled job manager. Just again, the UI is very nice, much more user friendly than monitor jobs is. And you can also filter, which is great. And in monitor job, you have to kind of just keep hitting your arrow if there are lots of things that happened, or you're trying to look at something that happened a couple of days ago. Now you have the filter. So I think just again, a UI and giving customers, more visibility and usability of the system is just fantastic. And it's amazing how these small little things kind of make us a little more excited.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also consistent with the other batch job screen, like, this scheduled job manager is one, but there are other similar batch job screen for like any integration job. So it's consistent right with the screen. So we have, consistent behavior for an end user.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So yeah, another thing I would like to touch upon for the admin side of activities is the HRIS sync related updates. So there has been some announcement here, obviously not visible from an end user standpoint, but for an admin, the HRIS sync update time is reduced now. So in a way, the performance has improved, and now the results of the job execution are much more meaningful. Like you can see, okay, how many employees were picked up for job information updates, or the manager sync updates. So we have that number, and when it was executed, all those information available with this enhancement.
Yeah. So again, not like any active or proactive thing a customer has to do, but it's just, again, it's going to increase the performance of it, which some customers may see, especially larger customers that have larger number of users that need to sync. That job can take quite a while. So this definitely is an improvement there of how they've restructured that. I like that.
Yeah. So other than these admin activities, Shannon, would you like to touch upon on anything on the RPP side of things?
Yeah, so for RPV, so they have just a few minor changes there. Now the manage pay job org or org job pay structures, everyone knows what I'm talking about. That is now an individual permission, which again has been a struggle and a challenge when we are granting permissions from especially admin center, admin type, with the MDF objects and foundation objects. So this is its own permission that will be available for you to take away or grant to certain users if they should have access to that. So again, when they brought in a couple of years ago that the no access to MDF or access to MDF objects, it kind of opened up things that people didn't want. So this is just helping with that from a security perspective. Also, we are seeing with the RPV, because of centralized services and all of the entities from an import perspective, you will want to check and look into your roles that have import permissions, because in that import entities, now they've added all of the additional EC entities in there that are included for the centralized services. So the list has grown. So you do want to just do a confirmation of those admin roles that are allowed to do imports to make sure everybody, has the proper permissions that they should have. All right. What else? Is there anything else out there? Again, there are a lot of minor, small things, but let's see.
Yeah, there are quite a few minor things, but one of the items I would like to especially mention here is the check tool improvement for time off and timesheets. So in a way, it's kind of a major enhancement. Personally, I would think, because this check tool enhancement does helps to identify any data inconsistencies as well as any configurations mismatch or issues within the instance. So I personally think this is a major enhancement from this release standpoint for time off as well as timesheets.
Yeah, definitely. Again, always encourage customers to be looking at that check tool. So many still don't even realize that it's there, I think. So if this is something new that you're hearing about, please definitely, investigate more into that, because it's not just EC that the check tool is for. It is for your entire suite that you have configured and enabled. So if you have performance or comp or recruiting, I mean, there's the check tool is there for all of that. And so they continually add to it. So this addition with the time off and timesheet checks, agreed. You should have a regular process of checking that. Even if you don't think you have an issue, again, being proactive, looking for that, running that, for each release or quarterly or something, just to make sure your system's all good. I think that's really great.
Yep. And lastly, I would like to mention, this is the time after the release where, each client should go in and test out all these enhancements. So we know what needs to be changed from their configuration standpoint. So yeah, so this 30 days or whatever number of days is, just keep on testing this enhancements released by SAP.
Yes, test all of your regular processes. From an EC perspective, make sure you're doing some hires, make sure you're doing some terminations. If you have the time off, definitely, you may want to look into that. We know that there are always bugs that come with the releases, and SAP tries to stay on top of that. But the sooner you can find something and actually report it to SAP as well, right? Being your own partner with SAP. But again, just so that you also are aware of any changes that you may not have noticed. Sometimes there are very minor things that aren't called out in the release notes that you may want to take note of too. So definitely test. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
No, I think we're good. Again, thank you so much and have a great day.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day.